Happy Thursday. And Timothy Park in the chat. You don't like when I complain about the weather in Buffalo? Well, it rained today, so I'm going to complain. So too bad. All right, we're going to start with the pre-show, and usually Russ is the one who brings something to the table here, but I had something because I saw this a couple days ago, and it particularly irked me because it's grounded in history. Now, tonight at outside of Dyersville, Iowa, there will be the Field of Dreams game between the Chicago White Sox and the New York Yankees. Now, I loved the movie. The movie was one of my favorites. I was working at a movie theater when Field of Dreams came out in 85, I believe. Always liked it. We'll watch it whenever it's on TV. So I like the movie. I don't have any problem with Major League Baseball sort of hearkening back. And this has been in the planning stages for a couple of years. It got canceled last year because of COVID. So I don't mind that at all, and I'm actually looking forward to the game. They're not playing at the actual field. They're playing at a stadium that they built, an 8,000 seat stadium, close to where the ballpark is. Okay, I saw the promotion for the Field of Dreams game, and the Yankees are wearing it looks like their 1930s Joe DiMaggio era Yankees jerseys, that's fine. They really look real sharp. And if I was one,
nice flannel jerseys on a 90-degree day.
Yeah, they'll be sweating their balls off, but whatever. But no, I mean, handsome looking jerseys. Okay, the White Sox are, as you would expect, wearing the replica 1919 Black Sox jersey. And here's where I have the problem. They are pumping this up. They are promoting this. And obviously they want to sell lots of decor, lots of memorabilia, lots of jerseys and hats. You are promoting the most infamous team in the history of baseball, the team that threw games in the World Series, and you are promoting, here's our 1919 White Sox jersey. You know, that's like, okay, how about you buying the Tim Donaghy referee jersey if you're an NBA fan? I mean,
but Mitchell and Ness has always sold them, and they sell Trump masks at Halloween. Like, that's just the way the world is.
Well,
Mike, I think again, it's purely in my mind, it's just purely a nod to the movie itself more than anything. And I don't think it goes any deeper. I don't think it goes any deeper than that.
Okay, let me just make this point. And we're going to talk about Evander Kane and later on in the show. And I know that's hockey and this is baseball, but you
managed to link that segue in very easily there, didn't you?
We know that gambling in baseball is sacrosanct. I mean, if you do it, it's the third rail. If you touch it, you die. Okay. So now Major League Baseball is whoring themselves to FanDuel, to all these other gambling sites. But they've still banned players like Shoeless Joe Jackson, like Pete Rose, for gambling on baseball or taking money to throw games. Does the word hypocrisy sort of ring true here?
It does. I'll give you another bit of hypocrisy, and this is why I don't like the game. I'll watch probably a little of it, but I'm not going to watch all of it. What I don't like is Bud Selig decided, I want to say it was probably 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, it's about 15 years ago probably, that we can no longer have the Hall of Fame game on Doubleday Field because it's, these travel schedules, it's too much for the clubs. So we're going to just do away with it. Now, I went to one of those games, and it was great, and the players had a great time. What that was code for was, we can't make any money off of this, so screw Abner Doubleday. But the fact is, now they can go to a made-up field with 8,000 seats and have no problem scheduling that. That's my problem.
And we also have but again, you're talking Selig versus Manfred.
Well, he's an apostle of Selig,
True, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to follow completely in lockstep. They see.
Well,
I
he
think
could
they
have
see.
brought back the Hall of Fame game, but he didn't, right?
He didn't, but I think what they're doing is right now. This seems to be more of a just. I think they're going down to these. But my personal favorite is they ever decide to ever do a Sandlot game. That's what I want. I want to say that's my favorite.
The Sandlot game would be better.
Sandlot game I would love.
Yeah, and I don't know.
You could have dog adoption would be a big hit.
I just found the, I'm looking at, I can't even remember who it was, whether it was Jose Abreu or one of the White Sox pitchers who was wearing this, the pinstripe. And I don't even know if that's because I've seen the old films of the 1919 World Series, and I don't remember the Sox wearing pinstripes on the home jersey.
I don't either. I only really remember the way the hats look, not as much as of how the uniforms look, to be honest.
Right, but and you got to remember, like I have always been steeped in the. I read 8 Men Out before it was a movie. I've read other books on the Black Sox. I did a term paper in college on the Black Sox scandal and how the gambling aspect of it. And this was right around when Rose was being prosecuted by Bart Giamatti. So I'm really into this. And the thing is, it's like, on the one hand, baseball is destroying these. The legacy of these players. It has been destroyed because Shoeless Joe was not put in the Hall of Fame. But if you go to Cooperstown, you got the Shoeless Joe jersey in there. And the thing is, that might be the jersey. Russ, remember the story about the minority owner of the Yankees who sold all this memorabilia?
Yeah.
He had blood. A
lot of it was fraudulent.
A lot of it was fraudulent. He sold a Mickey Mantle glove to Billy Crystal for $50,000. Yeah, he donated a bunch of stuff to the Hall of Fame. Apparently, like Black Betsy which was Shoeless Joe's bat, and all of it was fake.
Yeah.
So I may have seen that may have been the jersey, but they didn't have a problem displaying Shoeless Joe's jersey. Okay, you're going to display Shoeless Joe's jersey. You're going to display Pete Rose's bat that he got the 4,100 and whatever hit, but. We can't let it. That's as close to the Hall of Fame as they're going to get. So you can sell the legacy, or you can show the legacy, and you won't let the guy in. I mean, the baseball are a bunch of freaking hypocrites. They really are.
Hard to follow that up, Mike.
Okay. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Thursday, August 12th, 2021.
I'm Anthony Mingioni.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology. I do want to answer the chat room. The website is a little slow. They want to know about the Hockey Buzz website. Is it me, like Thomas is asking? It's
it's apparently, what was it, Russ? Was it Google or Amazon? Whenever. Apparently Jeff Bezos used too many billions to go to space, so he screwed everybody who used their servers. And I'm Michael Agello, and this is the HockeyBuzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com, where I just ruined my chances of working for Amazon. Okay, we'll start with this.
Not locally, Mike. They'll take you locally.
Oh yeah, I can drive one of those trucks. They're so handsome. The contract signed yesterday, which I thought was fairly consequential. Sam Reinhart signs a 3-year deal with the Florida Panthers at $6.5 million AAV. So they bought 2 years of unrestricted free agency. Now, here's the thing. What they did was, and Tampa Bay has been famous for using their state tax advantage to get contracts below market. I may be wrong, but I believe when there was talk about Reinhart signing an extension with Buffalo, which I don't think was serious, the number was probably, I think, in the 8 million range, at least, probably around 8. 6.5 in Florida. Now, he was probably asking for more, Anthony, with Buffalo. It was a Buffalo sucks tax, but the $6.5 million in Florida without the state tax probably equates out to close to 8, or maybe a little less than 8 in Buffalo. So this is Bill Zito using the state tax as an advantage for the Panthers.
Agreed. And again, when we look at the versatility of Sam Reinhart, in many ways I equate Sam Reinhart to like a higher end version of Scott Lawton, where you can really move him all around your lineup. But in this case, his skill set obviously is best in your top six. You could have him on your right wing. You can play him. He's played at center and has done it fairly well. As you know, if everybody's watched him, as Joe Yurden, of course, who covers the Sabres, has indicated us, he did it with aplomb.
Right.
He's an extremely valuable piece for any team that has ideas for contention. And to get him at $6.5 million, even with eyebrows raised over it, and it sounded like people were thinking it was high, and I thought that was a number that was actually excellent for what they got him for 3 years. So it's a great, I think it's a great signing for Florida. I think it's a key element here for them going forward if they're looking to build on their contention status going into the season.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's a good signing. Reinhart's a proven 20, 25 goal scorer. He's a very smart player, too, on the ice, so he really doesn't make a lot of mistakes out there either. And that's something where Florida is now trying to get sort of a championship team going, and I think Reinhart will be very revved up this season with them. He was, and I think this is good. Zito did a nice job here.
Well, what I'm curious, like what Anthony was talking about, I'm curious.
Pronounce Reinhardt right. If not, Zito will let me know, I'm sure.
Right. What I'm curious about is how they will use him, and if you put this together with the acquisition of Sam Bennett at the deadline, I would think that they're going to use Reinhardt as the number 2 center behind Barkov, because by doing that, one, they don't have to rush Anton Lundell to the NHL. They can let him either play in Finland or let him play in the American Hockey League for a full year, or maybe start at the NHL level but on the wing to let him get to acclimate himself. And they can keep Bennett on the wing, where I think he's a better fit in the NHL. He did not seem that he could play center in Calgary, but it frees him up to play the wing where there's less defensive responsibilities. Otherwise, their number 2 center is probably Carter Verhaeghe. And I like Carter Verhaeghe, and he's getting well paid on a new deal, but I think they're probably better suited to having Reinhardt as the number 2.
Well, they can actually put, I would say you could I could see him either on the right wing, I'd say top line right wing, second line center. I mean, you could potentially have Bennett there, but I don't think Bennett is as good at center as Reinhardt is. My biggest concern there.
It gets to be almost a super. I was going to say, Anthony, it gets to be almost a super line when it comes. Like if you're putting Huberdeau, Barkov, and Reinhardt, then you're putting all your eggs in one basket.
It's true, but if you have moments of the season where you need to really goose your offense, I think it's an outstanding line. It's an exceptionally well balanced line if you do that.
Yeah,
but having the advantage of Reinhardt being pretty successful at playing at the center position in Buffalo, I think second line center would be. If I'm Joel Quenneville, I start the season with him playing at center, and then you figure out that top wing situation, whether it's for Verhaeghe or somebody else. Maybe get a look at Bennett, but I think Bennett's more of a middle. Bennett to me reads more as a middle sixer, whereas in my mind, Reinhardt is first or second line wing, first line wing, second line center.
I think Bennett's a second line winger. I don't think he's a second line center.
I think he's a middle sixer, depending on the situation. If he's playing well, you play him on the wing on the second line. If not, things are not looking so good. You drop him down. It's a versatile. What I like about it is Florida's got a pretty versatile lineup, and it's a lot. And again, they scored some goals against Tampa in that series against a pretty well-stacked.
This year they're going to get Tampa fits. They will.
They are. It's going to be I think it's going to be a heck of a rivalry. I think they call it I don't know if it's an I-4 rivalry in this case, but pretty close to it.
Well, just wanted to touch on this, and we have time because there's not a ton of stuff going on in the NHL right now, but. You look at Florida now, and now they have 3 of the top 4 picks in the 2014 draft, a draft that was in Philadelphia. It was the first NHL draft I went to.
For both of us, that was my first one.
Well, the first I went to as a reporter, I went to the 2002 draft in Toronto. I went to the drafts and the Lindros draft in Buffalo. So I was at drafts before, but this was the first one I went to as a reporter. And Russ, it's funny that if you look at we're talking about the top half of the first round, how well traveled the players in this draft are. Okay, so Ekblad was number 1. He's still in Florida. Reinhart is now on his second team, getting traded from the Sabres to the Panthers. Draisaitl is obviously in Edmonton, and we look at how Draisaitl has been successful as compared to Ekblad and Reinhart. And you really can't do hindsight as 2020, but if you redrafted, probably Draisaitl is the number 1 pick. Bennett is now on his second team in Florida after being in Calgary. Michael Dal Cole they did not qualify him, the Islanders, and he is a free agent right now.
Yeah.
And that's, but
he'll get signed at least to an AHL deal. He will.
Right. Jake Virtanen, his career might be over with based on what happened to him in Vancouver. Hayden Fleury is on his third team right now because he got claimed by Seattle.
Yeah.
William Nylander and Nikolai Ehlers are both with their original teams. The Leafs also have rival Florida in terms of 2020 first round. Well, actually, they've had 2014 first round picks. They've actually had 4 on their roster. They have Nylander. They signed Nick Ritchie. They have Josh Hosang on a PTO, and they had Jared McCann for about 5 seconds. So but Nick Ritchie's on his third team, and he was the 9th overall pick. I mean, it's what I'm saying.
You're leaving out, I think, the most well-traveled guy on that list.
Oh, go ahead. Who?
Tony DeAngelo.
Yes. Oh, yeah. 19th. Tampa, Arizona, Rangers, Carolina.
He's on his fourth team.
Yes. Yeah. Kasperi Kapanen went Pittsburgh, Toronto, Pittsburgh. So they.
I was going to say you want to talk about someone who's done the express, who's racking up frequent flyer miles.
Jared McCann's
bounced around.
Is on his 5th, I think.
He's on his 5th.
Vancouver.
I do think I like his fit in Seattle. I think he's a decent player. I think he's going to fit in well in Seattle. But I will tell you, that's a decent season. He's your classic trade deadline acquisition for assets.
Yeah, Vancouver, Florida, Pittsburgh, Toronto, Seattle. Yeah. So he's got 5. Now, what I'm saying is, this is only 7 years ago.
Yeah,
flat
cap world, but it is 7 years. I mean, we talk about evaluations of draft classes in a 3 to 5 year period, right?
3 to 5. Yeah.
So we're now +2 of that. You're getting an idea now that 2014 draft was, some solid players, but it wasn't a world beater draft. That's for sure.
No, look, I mean, the only reason someone like Draisaitl wasn't picked at the top is because he was a German player coming from a German league. Right. He was branded the German Gretzky, so everybody knew he had talent. But at that point in time, it was hard to equate what somebody from Germany could do, from the German league could do here. And now you have a better idea with him and Stützle. So, now that, that next great guy from Germany is not going to have as hard a time.
Okay, trivia question here. Only one player from the first round in this draft has not played an NHL game.
Oh, God, 14.
23rd overall by the Colorado Avalanche.
Oh, is it
First name begins Connor Bleakley.
Bleakley, sorry, yeah.
Yes. He played 32 games in the ECHL last year.
I did pretty good. That was pretty good.
Yeah. But so you'd have to say that Dylan Larkin at 15 and obviously David Pasternak at 25. Pasternak is the one that blows everybody's mind because it was 25 and he was in the NHL.
Well,
again, we know. Get Russ, you say it.
Yeah, I'll go back to it. I looked at one of my old lists with Pasternak, and I had him in the 20s, and I remember what I wrote was, hey, he's a skinny kid that's played only in the Czech Republic at that point. Nobody had a real good idea of, again, what that league, he would translate from there to here. He had to put on some muscle. They knew he had a shot. They knew he had offensive ability, but you're not going to, at that point in time, nobody was going to risk a top 10 pick on that guy.
No. And the funny thing was, his story was weird. He's a Czech. He played his junior level in the Czech Republic, and then he left for Sweden and played in Sweden in junior. And the reason I know that is because he was teammates and friends with Nylander in the junior level. So and then gets drafted 25th overall in the 2014 draft, plays half a year with Providence, and then gets called up to the Bruins and scores 10 goals in 46 games, and then was off at that.
I interviewed him, and I still have the picture. One of his first NHL goals was against the Flyers when he came up, and he looked really good early on, and he's always looked good against Philly ever since. That's just
yes, absolutely.
And even back then, he liked Dunkin' Donuts. Okay, anyway. All right. Henrik Lundqvist posts on, was it Instagram or on Twitter?
I think it was Instagram. But
he posts a picture of his pads. And by the way, he didn't post a picture of, as opposed to Robin Leonard wanted to post a picture of his pads with swords on them, but was denied the ability to do that. And I love that.
Not just any swords.
That was a shout out to Alan
Walsh's sword.
Yeah. I love Robin Leonard for that because he's throwing shade at Alan Walsh even after the fact, which is beautiful. Yeah. Getting back to Lundqvist posts a picture of his pads and intimates in the Instagram post that he's ready for action. At least that he's going to be getting on the ice. He's going to be seeing, and this is a year out from the open heart procedure that he had. Russ, first of all, I mean, how realistic do you think? I mean, I'm not a medical professional, so I don't know, but how realistic do you think it is that he's going to come back and play?
Well, I think if they limit his work production, it's somewhat realistic. I mean, he was already looking close to coming back until they shut him down, if you remember, saying, hey, he's got this heart condition that the doctors have now shut him down. Before that, he wasn't looking bad at all when he was back on the ice. Again, he just, had guys shooting at him at Kettler, but still, this is Henrik Lundqvist. Henrik Lundqvist is not going to even put that picture up if he doesn't feel like he has something in the tank. That's just the way it is. He's not going to do a Steve Carlton and, just flounder around for 3 or 4 teams just trying to hang on to a career. That's not the way this guy operates. So he's probably got a pretty good idea of what his fitness is already, right? Because this is a long time after the operation. I think there's probably been athletes in the Olympics that maybe have had a similar surgery and have done it. But, nobody's ever done it in hockey. But I do think, you limit his workload, and I do think there's a chance. I think I would give him like a 45% chance of being able to play in the NHL this year for some team. I do.
Now, but I would also say as well as you signed Ilya Samsonov to a 1-year contract. And you have Vitek Vanacek. It's not like Washington. I don't necessarily think he's out of the realm of possibility. If it's not this year, maybe doing at least a season with Washington. I mean, maybe he feels well enough and he's into the mix some point this year.
Well, that was the question that I posed to Russ when we were talking this morning when he brought this up. And Eck, posted it on his blog. And, of course, gravitated to the train wreck that is the Edmonton Oilers. Now, I personally do not think that Lundqvist is going to play in Canada, probably because of the border restrictions and things of that nature.
I mean, I wouldn't count him out of that. I don't think it's a hard no.
No, but my feeling is on this is that, the 1-year, $2 million contract on Samsonov, I know it may sound irrespective of Lundqvist, but if Samsonov kind of doesn't have a good year,
he doesn't look good in 20 games.
He doesn't look good in 20 games. I don't necessarily think they are ready to write the. And I think the Caps would love to have that story. They would love to have that story.
The question is whether either Samsonov or Vanacek have options to be sent to Hershey, which I don't believe they have. Somebody could check that. And I can't see them. Yeah.
Of the two, to me, they seem more. My read on the Capitals is, especially after they went out and reacquired him from Seattle, is that I think they've got more of a line on Vanacek being there.
Yeah, I agree.
Than Samsonov.
Yeah, Samsonov has to prove himself this year.
Samsonov is waiver exempt. So that is a possibility. He signed with them before.
Mm-hmm.
He could sign with them again. But Russ and I were talking about other teams. I don't think Edmonton is viable. Russ suggested Toronto. I think Toronto is going to go with Campbell and Mrazek.
Nothing else. He gets signed to a one-day contract and he takes out William Nylander.
There you go. But the two teams that I think make the most sense, one in the East, one in the West.
But hold on, let's go back to Toronto, Mike, because I don't want you glossing over Toronto like you think the goaltending's all wrapped up and sewn up there. Toronto is famous, just like the New York Rangers, of bringing back older goaltenders to try and make a run. And you can't say that is not in their history, because it is.
It's in their history, but I don't think he wants to go to Toronto.
Why would you say that?
I don't think he would play. I don't think he'd play in
Canada. What have you heard? That's what I don't understand. Why do you think
for a
Canadian team?
I just said because of the border restrictions.
I don't think that's.
They just spent $3.8 million on him.
Don't you understand? Michael wants certainty for once when it comes to goaltending.
I know he does.
They gamble, Mrazek, and let's let it ride. That's all Michael wants at this point.
I know, but I'm just pointing out if Campbell were to get hurt,
sure, then all bets are off, and Kyle Dubas will be swearing, and he'll be looking for a goaltender and looking for somebody better than Michael Hutchinson, but. No, I mean I'm talking about the beginning of the season and with the team.
Is McElhinney still out there, by the way?
There you go. he can make that diving save on Sidney Crosby. But no, if you're talking about teams that I think currently, right now, have an opening where Lundqvist Lundqvist is not going to the shit show that is the Arizona Coyotes or the Buffalo Sabres or the San Jose Sharks.
Hold on, I'm going to put the coin in the swear jar for you there.
There you go. I got three. I have 3 quarters right here. But and if he goes to San Jose, it's for the beaches of Northern California and not to play for the Sharks. But one team in the East, the Pittsburgh Penguins, I think with Jari and Casey DeSmith, that Lundqvist could be an improvement. And how about Colorado with Pavel Francouz as the backup in with the Avalanche? I mean, I think
sure.
I think those scenarios, because come on, if he's coming back, he wants a place where he's going to win. He wants a place he has a chance to win a Stanley Cup.
Right.
Here's a question for and considering this is a heart thing, and I don't want to make light, in terms of a health situation, I would wonder if with altitude and things of that sort playing there, I would wonder if that would be a bit of a concern for him.
Yeah,
maybe
in that circumstance. So I'm actually, it's one of the reasons why with his situation I did not really look at Colorado and say.
Esmir in the chat says, "What about Nashville? Do you really consider the Nashville Predators a contender?"
That's only if he really, really, really wants to play again, where he thinks he's, it's unquestioned, And even then, with Saros, he's got, Saros is going to get the.
If he's got a 2-year plan and nobody else really wants him this year, and he just needs to play, then maybe something like Nashville would work. But I don't think he'd be in it for that.
I don't know how good the hot chicken is on the heart. So definitely give you heartburn, but
it's fried chicken. I'm sure that's not necessarily.
But I do think there's a chance we could see him this year. And I'm not just saying it just to kind of have a fun summer story. He wouldn't be embarking on this if he didn't think there was a chance.
My gut feeling is, I'm going to say this now. I think it's going to be the Capitals or bust. I think he's going to play. If he's going to be in net, he's going to want to look at that and say, no, I got to Washington. I signed with them. If there's an opening and a possibility, that's probably and the opportunity to play, with Alex Ovechkin, with a number of those players there. I think he stays put in Washington. And again, the Samsonov signing at only 1 year. Yeah. As Mike indicated with the waiver situation, if I'm him, I've already settled in Washington. I get myself physically right, and that opportunity may open.
Plus, he would get a break if there's an Olympics, so that would be a good thing too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
By the way, there is a deadline for that, Mike. Did you hear that?
No, I did not.
I thought I heard September 23rd is the deadline for the Olympics now, as far as whether
for the NHL committing.
For the NHL committing, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and okay, we saw the, and I'm going to write about this in reference to the Leafs today. We saw that the coaching staff put together for Team Canada. Okay, first of all, if the NHL doesn't go to the Olympics, that will not be the coaching staff for Team Canada for the Olympics, because all those coaches will be coaching in the NHL. So they'll have to come up with a new coaching staff for, like if, Dave King is available, or, what I'm saying, it's going to have to be somebody who's not affiliated. Maybe there's more Mike Babcock gets his coaching
Sorry,
job.
it's the end of August. That's what Daly said.
End of August. I mean, that's even better, because they have to hold the IOC, hold their feet to the fire to give them what they want. And if they don't get that, then they're not going. And I don't have, like, I don't know how you guys feel. I can take it or leave it. I would like to see Olympic hockey. I'd like to see the competition between, the U.S., the Swedes, the Canadians. It would be a great tournament. But I hate the fact that it has to happen in the middle of the season, and teams are risking their best players. And if they get hurt, like John Tavares got hurt in 2014, the Islanders weren't in the playoff race then. But imagine if the Islanders were, and John Tavares comes back with an injured knee and can't play, then that team's season is ruined. I know that these players will sign up for that because it's a chance to play for the country and win a gold medal. But if you're the owner of the Maple Leafs, you're the owner of the New York Rangers, do you want your best players going and risking getting hurt? Of course you don't.
Well, it's even more than that. I'm against it for two reasons. I'm against it for where it's being played, and I'm also against it for the possibility of illness, because the virus isn't going away, and especially over there. And so there are going to be issues with the players there. And if your best player does come down with COVID there, he has to first overcome it to get back into this country. Then you don't know what that's going to do to the rest of the season. So I don't think it's a good idea.
I have a friend, Anthony, who is a teacher who is teaching in Shanghai right now, and I think the restrictions have changed. But a couple months ago, he would have had to quarantine for 2 weeks coming back from China, and he had a parent that died in the last year and couldn't come back for the funeral because of the restrictions. So, yeah. I mean, who's to say, unless they get special dispensation from the Canadian or U.S. governments, that these players can't come back and play for another 2 weeks after they play in the Olympics?
Yeah, that to me, I think is if that is the circumstance, I think it gets very tough to sell that to teams. It becomes very, very difficult. So yeah. There.
Mike, I do want to point out that today is David Ayer's birthday, and I did wish him a happy birthday. And
so did I, Russ. And what I did was
he messaged, and he responded.
He messaged me back. I sent him a picture, the picture that I had, because it signified the last Leaf game that I was at Scotiabank Arena. I sent the picture of him walking toward the Carolina locker room with his jersey on that I took with the number of reporters, and he responded and said, "Thanks, Mike." Because he is a member. He is a member of the MLS and the organization. It's less a statement.
And Mike wants to turn it into an NFT. Let's be real on it.
It's less. No, by the way, I'm gonna promote my potential NFT. I have a picture of Alex Rodriguez, who when he hit his 500th home run at Yankee Stadium, I took it with a 35mm camera. It's the best picture I've ever taken in my life, and probably ever will take, where the ball is crossing the plate and he's in mid swing. I may sell that as an NFT if I can get at least $5,000 for it. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna hold my breath for that one.
Putting the fun in non-fungible.
There you go.
There you go.
Yes. Does that have anything to do with needles? I'm just kidding. Okay. The aforementioned Evander Kane, a story by our friend Kevin Kurtz in The Athletic. mentions the dissension within the Sharks organization caused by Evander Kane's off the ice instances during the season. According to Kurtz, several key players informed team brass, including head coach Bob Bugner and GM Doug Wilson, that if Kane was going to be part of the Sharks going forward, this is in the closing interviews at the end of the year, they didn't want to be. That's how bad it got and how complicated this situation has become. Guys were going into Doug's office all year long, according to one source, saying Kane had to go. All Doug would say is all teams have locker room issues, which just isn't true, not the teams that win anyway. So, I mean, okay, he's under investigation right now. I get the feeling, Anthony, that if there is any shred of evidence that first of all, if there's any shred of evidence he gambled on NHL games and on Shark games, I think that would be, in legal terms, grounds for contract termination.
Yeah,
they could get out of it.
That's the key. What is the evidence? What receipts, to use a phrase everybody likes to use, what receipts does his soon-to-be ex-wife have? You know, there is a process that is involved here that has to be followed through. And I would say, you know, there's a lot of evidence that, you know, and he said it himself, you know, he's put himself into this situation. And I think the circumstances are absolutely believable in this circumstance. He sounds like, based off of the descriptions, that he needs a lot of help. But I don't know if that necessarily, again, this is something that he's going to be able to continue to be a functional. And you could say it all. I had one of my most productive seasons last year with the Sharks, despite all my issues. Well, the team around you seems like it didn't exactly have the most productive season. And if your actions are a factor with that,
yeah,
you know, that's where the Sharks have to consider. But again, what it comes down to is key players. How many of them, you know, are there all their stories corroborating with one another? And again, you have to come down to a decision of is this worth the headache?
Now, Russ, according to the piece, the Sharks ignored everything. According to an NHL agent, they turned a blind eye to everything that was going on with Kane, and everything right now is going to go back to the NHL and what they find out in this investigation, and who knows how long it's going to take. Now, this is the thing that I wonder, you know, in baseball, we saw that Trevor Bauer was suspended or was given a leave of absence while the investigation it was going on with of the allegations that he is facing. I mean, I can't see with this hanging over Kane's head, they allow him on the ice. He could be basically suspended until they finalize this investigation.
There's a lot going on. I mean, there's the bankruptcy where you see that his house now is worth only a fraction of what it's worth. So his net worth's going down, even though he gets paid every year. So he's going to have that drain going on. We did see that, and this is coming from, hold on, I just scrolled. Sarah Avampato, she's a reporter out of LA, it looks like. Covers also, actually not LA, Chicago Wolves. Wolves. And there's somebody wrote about Rocky Thompson and him, and she cut out a piece of an article, maybe this is from The Athletic too, saying that he had poor practice habits at one point late in the season. According to a source, Kane nearly came to blows with Rocky Thompson in a meeting after arguing where he was supposed to be positioned on the power play. So, look, he's had issues. Mike knows about him in Buffalo. Going beyond this case, he's had plenty of issues for not being the greatest guy. So
he's had, okay.
Things are going to snowball for him.
Yes, and this isn't an isolated incident. He had issues in Atlanta that have come out over the last few months. He had the well-known issue in Winnipeg with Dustin Byfuglien and other teammates, the tracksuit thing. Okay, but in Buffalo, we were, you know, at the night before, I think, the 2016 draft, down in the area of the city of Buffalo where There, a lot of partying goes on. He got into an incident at a bar on Chippewa, and now this. And obviously, when you have gambling issue or gambling accusations, and your most famous photo is you on the balcony during the NHL lockout in Vegas with the money fanned out in your hands. He's not doing himself any favors. He's destroying his career. He may not have any self-control over that. And it's really sad because, he is a very talented player. Mm-hmm. He's just a guy who has either bad impulse control or bad decision-making processes. And this is, he's throwing away what could be a great career.
We're 2 months from the start of a season. It's seemingly not going to get better before then. So we're going to get an answer on the report before training camp. That's what the NHL said. And then he's the Sharks' problem. That's the way it is.
Yeah, and I think, Anthony, there's less of I think there's more of a case based on the accusations. So, okay, we know the NHL will investigate this. We hope that they get it done before the beginning of the regular season. If the allegations are true, there is more of a case for terminating his contract than there was for Mike Richards, which was a drug issue.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and that's that. But again, you need that evidence. She needs, again, since she is the one, of course, who brought the accusations. Yeah. Then she has to have that information, and maybe after. It could very well, if the lawyer is involved in this case, she may have started off with this, and then maybe the attorney said, okay, if she has an attorney hired, right, what do you have? What is it that you're going to be giving? And that's the thing I want to see. It can't just be you just going off on social media. Yeah, as a spouse, she has every right to feel aggrieved based off her ex-husband's actions. But evidence at the end of the day, she has to present that in order for that to occur. And she is now.
I'm sure that's what's going on now, and that's what the NHL is going to figure out.
Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm.
All right. The negotiations between Elias Pettersson and the Vancouver Canucks. There were some comments made via social media that piqued the curiosity of some in the province of British Columbia. Pettersson said, I want to stay there, meaning Vancouver now, but I also want to play for a team that's winning and has a chance to go far into the playoffs every year. If we have that chance when my next deal expires, I don't know. I just want to play where there's a chance of winning. Now, we've talked about Pettersson, and JP Barry, his agent, also represents Quinn Hughes, so it's a double whammy. And I would assume, maybe I'm wrong. I'm assuming both are going to go with bridge deals.
What is a quick question for you? What was the timing of this particular interview? Was this?
I think it's recent. I think it was in the last.
Was it after the moves that they've made?
Yeah, I think it's.
Okay, then that to me is because that timing of that quote is important there, because again they did get aggressive, Vancouver.
Barry said after, and I don't know. Somebody can tell me. It may have been from a Swedish newspaper. I don't know what the original where
the timing for me of works coming from and when it was said.
Yeah, I know that it was recent, but I don't know where it was said. Whether it was I can't remember the one outlet in Sweden that always has the good interviews. But JP Barry came out and said, "Do not read too much into it." He was not going to say he wants to be part of a losing organization. Elias says what he feels, and he wants to win now, not later. He is excited about next year.
Okay. Last season was extremely frustrating for him. I have no doubt of that. And he's a young player, and I think the circumstances of last season wore on a lot of young players.
Russ, that was a damage control statement. Because,
no question.
Because everybody in Vancouver's probably got their hair on fire. It's like, oh my God, he's gonna, it's akin to Toronto. Everybody thinks Austin Matthews is gonna leave after his contract. No, not necessarily. If Toronto is going downhill and he's got a chance to, and Arizona is actually a viable organization at that point, then maybe you have to worry about it. But I don't think either one of those scenarios are going to happen. But with Pettersson, I think right now they don't have the cap space to sign both him and Hughes to long-term deals. That's why I think they're probably going to both end up on bridge deals.
They will. They're going to have to figure out they've got like $13 million. So it's like, which one of you is getting 6? Which one of you is getting 7? That's what they have to figure out.
Right, but
it'll probably be Quinn Hughes getting the 7 because
right.
Pettersson didn't have a great year.
Is this like, if you remember, they both ended their ELCs at the same time, Taves and Kane. They both took extended bridge deals for the same amount, and then they both took the $10.5 million for 8 years at the same time.
Yeah, these guys are not going to do that.
They're not going to do that, even if they're represented by the same agent.
Doesn't matter.
I could see one taking a shorter term deal, and that's the one who takes less.
Look, I'll be honest. I still think after hearing that statement, regardless of what JP said, I don't think Pettersson's signing more than a 2-year bridge, and I think he's going to end up leaving.
Well, I mean, after the 4 years.
Well, he doesn't have to sign a 4-year deal. Well,
no. I'm saying he's ending his deal.
They still have 4 on him.
Correct.
So he'll sign a 3-year bridge, and then
they have arbitration rights on him, and then either they trade him or he walks after the next year.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's anything's possible. We've seen that happen with Jacob Trouba.
It's a house of cards between him, Besser, Hughes. It's a house of cards. So they're going to have to keep Hughes. Hughes is the highest of priorities, especially based on what defensemen are worth now in the league. So Hughes has to stay. So then now you're deciding, okay, Besser or Pettersson. Now, 2 years ago, we all would have said Pettersson. But Besser's a proven goal scorer in this league. So now that makes this much harder to figure out.
But you did just acquire Connor Garland too.
Yeah.
That adds to the mix there.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Russ, we're going to start talking about, we're going to take a team a day and start talking about prospects, at least a couple prospects from these teams. And we'll start with the Arizona. We'll go alphabetically and talk about the Arizona Coyotes. And Russ, one of their first round pick this year, which they got from the Vancouver Canucks, the 9th overall pick was Dylan Guenther. And, I think they did actually a pretty good job getting him because I think a lot of people projected him to be a little higher a pick, maybe even in the top 5.
He could have gone higher. There's no question, but just the way the draft fell, he fell there, and he's a definite goal scorer. He has a high hockey IQ. He's a strong kid already, so that's good. So he could take care of himself as far as getting his own space to score goals. He really he had a weird year because when he was playing in the AJHL, because the dub was sort of closed down, he didn't want to be there, but he had to play somewhere. So he played there for a little bit, and then he lit it on fire in Edmonton for the Oil Kings. I do like him a lot. I do think he can get stronger. He's got a frame that can put some weight on him. This is a good pick. Like, this is one where give him another 2 or 3 years, and this is a really top-notch guy. Now, for the general Arizona detractors, I looked at Clayton Keller this morning, and I'll tell you what I think one of the biggest problems is for him. He's on a line with Phil Kessel now, and he's a black hole. So at that point, it doesn't help a guy like Clayton Keller. Like, 3 years ago, he had 65 points. He's totally capable of that. But again, it has to sort of have the right line. I would take Keller off of the Kessel line, and I think you would get better production. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if they'll do that.
And the funny thing is, Anthony, is that Phil Kessel, as he's gotten older, has become more black hole-ish. Because in Toronto, he was pretty good playmaker playing on the wing with Bozak and Van Riemsdyk.
Yeah.
And then
now the puck gets on his stick and it never leaves.
Right. And then with Pittsburgh, he was still that way, but I think he became more of a shooter when they had him on that HBK level.
It was also different in Pittsburgh, and you have a bit more of there's a stronger room as well in Pittsburgh where I think he was, again, you have a Crosby talking to you, you're going to let, one of the best players in the game, or some of the other guys in that room, who won, you're going to listen to more. You go to Arizona, it's it is what it is.
Now, Russ,
There's some problems there.
the other player that we were going to bring up, Arizona is going to have the most turnover on the blue line than any team in the NHL. They had 3 unrestricted free agent veterans. 1 retired in Yarmulson. Goligoski went to Minnesota. Demers is unsigned, although Eck wants him to sign with Edmonton. They traded Ekman Larson. They bring in Strawman and Gostisbehere and Timmins. But the guy who might be the key for them is Soderstrom, their first-round pick from a couple years ago. And he played, unlike a lot of prospects, he played over 30 games in the American Hockey League last year and got a taste at the NHL, I think, late in the season. So I think he's going to get a ton of playing time.
He should. I mean, but here's the rub on this one. So right now, and he is used to playing some pro hockey even before that. So you can make that argument. He is only 20, but he really is fast and can be very dynamic. He could lay these saucer passes that are really a thing of beauty at times, especially for a defenseman. That's pretty valuable to have. But Bill Armstrong is a guy that does like to marinate his players in the AHL. That's what they've done in St. Louis. That's what he's used to. And so now he's going to have to be blown away in camp to make this decision. I fully feel like Soderstrom could play in the NHL, and he had 1 point in 4 games. The interesting thing was when I asked him at the draft what he felt like being on a team with Oliver Ekman-Larsson, he probably never dreamed he was only going to play 4 games with them. But that's where we are, right? And so he could be that next guy for them. He really has great offensive ability, and he's a decent defender. He's not a great defender, but he's a decent defender. And so I do think there's a chance he plays. I wouldn't start him on the top pairing right away. I would put him on the second pairing, but it will be up to Armstrong. It'll be very interesting to see how he handles it, but he's got a good problem here.
Yeah, and Chychrun's going to be the anchor on that blue line. But this is the thing. This team is going to be terrible next year. They got a bunch of older players. Anthony, I think they're in the Shane Wright sweepstakes with San Jose and Buffalo. Some of these guys like
and Anaheim. Anaheim.
Yes, by the way, yes. Arizona is if we're going alphabetically, Anaheim is before Arizona. So we'll go through the 8.
We're going to do everybody's team. Everybody has their favorite team. Yes. We will get to your team. You can figure out the day by the alphabet now.
Yes. So yeah, in Buffalo, AR goes before AN. So we'll do the Ducks tomorrow, but or fairly soon. But this team is going to be terrible.
They are what they are. I referred to them. You had another name you gave them, but I called them the Arizona Clearinghouses this year. That's what they are.
Yeah, they totally strip things down.
But it's a weird thing. It's like there's some. But as I said to you guys before, there are some parts that I think might be useful for them. That potentially, if they perform a little bit, that they could get good return at the deadline for them.
They've got 12 unrestricted free agents at the end of this year.
Yeah,
12. So and they already have 6.
Even more of a reason to go all in Arizona, and Tournier gets the guys going, and they're the Desert Misfits.
And they already have like 5 or 6 second-round picks for next year's draft anyway. So they're going to be collecting more draft picks.
Could be.
The only thing, the thing that's going to take a hit for them is the power play, because Garland was really good on the power play.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Kessel will get a lot more chances to shoot.
Firing shots, whether they go in or not.
Joe Morello asked the question. We'll take a few questions before we end the show. Mm-hmm. Any news on Eichel? Hearing Rangers might add Zibanejad to the deal. Okay, no, that was a report from Rick Carpinello regarding. Don't be surprised if they add Zibanejad. But here's the thing. The Sabres, if they took Zibanejad back in the deal, probably wouldn't be taking him back to keep him because he's 1 year away from being a UFA, and the Sabres are a tire fire, so they probably would be okay, folks, who out there wants Zibanejad? We're going to flip him someplace
Yeah, they're
else.
not going to do it right away, but they'll do it.
And we know one team out there out west that definitely would have interest in Mika Zibanejad. We know at least one for sure.
No, there's teams that'll want him. So
and you know which team that is.
Well, I mean,
the one team that hasn't addressed their center position this truly addressed their center position this offseason.
Okay, wait. Now I have to think about it for a minute.
Vegas.
Oh, Vegas. Oh,
he's
that's
a former
true.
teammate of Martin. Again, as Kevin Lee stated before on the show, he and Stonar, being former Senators teammates.
Yeah,
I could very easily see Mark Stone putting the full court press on to have figuring out a way of getting Zibanejad out there. But the salary and everything else you got to figure out.
It's not ideal for the Rangers, but they clearly just want to get rid of a problem in the sense that they don't want to even have to worry about having to trade another player because they know they can't re-sign Zibanejad at that point. So
right. I mean, I think
they should just hold on to him and let him walk, but that's a whole other thing.
I think the more realistic of the scenarios is not Zibanejad being traded to Buffalo. It's the Rangers trading for Eichel and then the Rangers trading Zibanejad. Because the Rangers would be able to hold, negotiations in terms of trades for Zibanejad, getting whatever they can get back. The Sabres want young assets. The Rangers got the young assets. I don't think that the Sabres.
Well, they still get young assets, but it's not like Zibanejad is old, Mike. He's not.
No. But he's not staying in Buffalo. Nobody's
saying to turn him into other young assets.
Yeah,
that's what they could get. Listen, he's a star player. He'll start off the year with Skinner. If he gets his usual points, trust me, teams will be knocking at the door. Like Anthony said, I don't think it's going to be a matter. I just think it's one of these things where the Rangers just feel like, let's just throw him in the deal because now we don't have to worry about that.
Oh, quick little bit of news that broke while we were broadcasting. The Winnipeg Jets have agreed to a contract with Andrew Cropp, 1 year, $3.64 million. He's a UFA after the season.
Good deal for him, man.
Just something to keep in mind that Cropp has signed with the Jets for $3.64.
So, they lost 1/3 of that checking line when they lost Appleton in the expansion draft. So now you have Kopp and Lowry. I like the moves that Winnipeg has made. They shored up their blue line. I think they're going to be much better than they were last year because Dillon and Schmidt will help them, and Logan Stanley getting more experience. I think their blue line is going to be good. Barticus asks, what does Brady Tkachuk end up signing for? I think he waits to see what Matthew makes long term. I don't think so
because they're in two different stratospheres.
Yes.
He's a much better player and has a much better upside.
But his brother's older and further along in his career, so I don't think that matters.
Yeah. I don't know what he's going to make because, again, I don't know what Ottawa could afford to pay him.
The rumor is they want to get him on an 8-year deal, and it's 8x8, which is Shabbat's deal. But
he's not going to sign for that.
No.
His last name is Tkachuk. If anybody remembers the kind of money that Keith used to make, he used to make a lot of money.
Yeah, but in the era, he was one of the preeminent power forwards in the NHL.
And he's going to tell his
kid, named Shanahan.
Yeah, he's going to tell his kid, do not sign that 8-year deal for only $8 million. Forget it.
No, if he's smart. I mean, okay.
He's not going to do that.
Yeah, okay. You want to sign me for $8 million? Fine. How about a 3-year deal at $8 million?
He won't even do that. I think he would want like 9x3. I do.
Well, he's not a center, Russ. He's not a center.
Yeah, but you take him out of that lineup. I'm not even sure what they are.
I'm a big Brady Tkachuk fan. He's he can play center, but he's better as a power winger.
Yes.
And he had 17 goals in 56 games last year. And he makes the lives of players in the Atlantic Division a living hell. And he's just only going to get worse.
69 PIMs in 56 games because he pushes the envelope.
Right.
So he's a more talented Tom Wilson and less goonish.
And I don't think he's got the sort of I'm not sure he's as antagonistic as his brother.
Not yet.
Not yet.
He's a Tkachuk. It's in him.
Okay.
I'm telling you, I've interviewed him. No. It is built in him. It's just I think he's a little different, and it hasn't all come out yet. But he's only 21. Like, remember, we're talking about a 21-year-old here. But you know what? 22 goals, 21 goals, 17 goals with the PIMs, with everything else he does. He might go for 8x3, but I still think he'll want a little more.
So okay, if it's 2 or 3 years, let's say I'm gonna say 7.5 times 2.
Yeah, because he would have had 25, 26, 27 goals last year.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to sign the 8-year deal. I don't. And
no, he's not going to sign the 8-year deal. He might go for $8 million for 3 or 4. He might do that. Now that I think about it, that's possible.
Anthony?
Yeah, it's possible. I would agree with Russ on that. I think it's possible.
Okay. All right. We'll leave it there. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition of the Hockey Buzzcast. For Anthony Mangione, for Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Agello. Thank you for watching. And remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey.